Good morning, class.
Good
Morning. So, just to give you an idea, you're a 9th grade intro English class. So, 9th grade general English class. So, who's ready to begin the day? I got like 3 people ready to begin the day. That's not good enough. Alright, well, before we get into today's main lesson, we're going to do a little bit of a brain warm-up here. Who here knows what a rebus puzzle is? I like that. Alright, so, better yet, who knows what these are? That might be more familiar to you. So these, there you go. So for those of you that don't know what these are called rebus puzzles. And what you do is all of these represent kind of a common phrase in one way or another. And what I want you guys to do is, here's an example. So you see we got the 3 green fingers there. That's a green finger, of course. You know, deep in thought, if you look, deep is in the middle of the word thought. It's fun stuff like that. And it's just a good way to get your brain started on a very early morning, first 8 a.m. of the week for some of us. So if you want to break out a piece of scratch paper, why don't you go ahead and try these 4 puzzles here. And I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to work on them. And then we'll go over them and then we'll hop into today's lesson. Sound good? Awesome. Alright, so everybody seemed to pick up on this quickly. Who needs a little more time, or are we good to move on? Anybody need a little bit longer? Are they good to go? Just gonna stare blankly? Or not? Alright, well, I'm gonna take it as a sign because when we walk around, we kind of know if most people are picking up on it pretty quickly. So why don't we go ahead and start with puzzle 33. Who thinks they got the right answer? Alright, let's go ahead. I saw your hand up first. What do you think? White load. Bingo. Alright, puzzle 34. Who thinks they got that one?
You have it heart to heart.
Exactly, it is heart to heart. Alright, puzzle 35.
See yourself?
Yep. And puzzle 36.
Wait, is it see yourself or see for yourself?
It's see for yourself.
I'm just asking
Just
for
for
yours.
yourself.
Yeah. And then puzzle 36.
Turn them over sheet.
Exactly, so I'm going to just hop over. Yep. So, they're a little simplistic, but they're a good way to get the brain going because it makes you think outside the box a little bit. So, we ready to start up the day?
Alright, so today we're going to go over the 4 different strategies to help you guys with learning comprehension. So, the first 2 that I'm going to go over are first one I'm going to go over is continuously monitoring. So in this strategy that I'm going to demonstrate to you using the article.
I'm going to hand out this article right now. So hold on to this. It's we only had time to print out one each because printer costs are expensive when you don't live on campus.
But for continuously monitoring, what this is while you're reading through an article or any sort of story that we will be reading in class, it helps you go back and check that you are actually understanding what you are reading. So it's best for continuously monitoring that you break up each of your reading selections into sections, so that way you can go back and pause yourself and be like, wait, am I really understanding what I'm reading? Am I understanding the details that the author or narrative is trying to tell me? Are we okay on the continuously monitoring? Yeah? Alright. So the next one I'll be showing you guys is the watcher strategy. So for the watcher strategy, this helps you identify important details, maybe like the setting, like maybe main characters that you would be reading in a book that we'll be reading throughout in our classroom, or maybe an article that we will be going over in a little bit, maybe like key people in the story that we will be reading, or the setting, or the main details that we want to be watching out for. So that's the watcher. Are we all good on the watcher? Okay, so what was continuously monitoring?
Continuously checking to make sure that you're actually comfortable doing what you're doing.
Yep, and then what was watcher?
Come on, guys.
Paying specific attention to specific details.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Alright.
Alrighty. So there's two other ways you can get a better understanding for reading comprehension and learn how to do reading comprehension in a way that best fits your reading style. And since I'm a horrible speller, I brought the book with me. Forgive me, you're about to see the worst handwriting you've ever seen. So one of the next ones you can do is strategic backtracking. And I warned you, didn't I? So strategic backtracking is very much what it sounds like. Who knows what backtracking is?
Backing up and like reviewing what you already read.
Yes, exactly. So that is a good strategy for better comprehending what you're reading. Whether it be a scientific article like what you guys have in front of your groups, where you are going to have to backtrack and find out exactly what you're talking about in terms of what the research is showing, what the research is overall about. And this applies to all sorts of different types of English. You can use it in your fiction, where you're backtracking to find out, more about the character, more about the setting. Nonfiction, more about the individual that it's being written about, or the time period it's being written about. And the other big one.
I think you want to check how to spell strategic.
I told you I had bad spelling. There we go. I warned you. Didn't I warn you? But no, it's just a wee little bunny rabbit. Thank you for those of you that laughed. All right, the other one is prediction. So this is what it sounds like, predicting, guessing ahead. With scientific articles, you can use this to look at the data that you've been given and make educated guesses as to what that data could conclude to. With fiction, you can guess how the plot's going to unfold. With nonfiction, that one's a little trickier because most of the time when you read nonfiction, it's about someone you tend to know about already. So you can't really predict what's going to happen in Abraham Lincoln's biography. You kind of know how it ends already.
Yeah, and going off of prediction, a great way to make predictions, maybe on nonfiction books, is reading subtitles, or like the title, like maybe like going off of like Abraham's like life. Like if it was like a subtitle, it could be like early life, so you would already kind of know what you're going to be reading about Abraham's early life.
So, quick review. What would be strategic backtracking? In the back?
retracing your steps, going back through what you just read.
Absolutely. And prediction? Cricket, cricket, cricket. Yes.
Using titles and subtitles to guess what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So what you guys have in front of you is an article that we pulled off the internet, and it's about kind of some food stuff. Since we're coming close to Thanksgiving, it's time to start talking about food, and what better way than to learn about bacteria and all that fun stuff in food.
So we're going to make you guys all think about this article when it comes to Thanksgiving time about, oh, do I really want to be eating this after reading this article? So,
like I said, you all have the article in front of you, so why don't you go ahead and take a little bit of time as a group, and we're going to go around, and I want you to try and at least get through that first page, and try and use all four strategies to better comprehend what the article is conveying to you. So.
I got this down in. I'm having a little difficulty.
Yeah, a little
Yeah,
difficulty,
it's
so.
just a rough morning.
It's rough morning already. Well, you can definitely use the four strategies to make it a lot easier
Okay.
for you. So, if you want, we can take a look at this here.
Sure.
So what are you having trouble with right now? What's the big one? Like just trying to understand what the overall article is.
Yeah, what's going on?
So this is an article based around food contamination. So
Okay.
yeah. So reading through it, you can find stuff. The big one is that it was done by University of Michigan, and it's being used to study how food bacteria can actually get linked into some genetic.
What's
traits.
DNA?
Diaribonucleic acid, I believe is what it stands for. So you can use all sorts of stuff because backtracking is going to be a big one in this, especially for scientific articles, because it's going to be constantly throwing new data at you, and you're going to have to go back and look over what you've already read to understand how that data applies to the next section you're reading.
So you're talking about getting down here and reading this paragraph and then going back and reading the first one. I guess.
Exactly. Well, not reading it exactly, but looking for your key concepts.
Okay.
And that's where your continuous monitoring comes in handy, because you'll look at it and you'll find out what are your key points of each section of this article. And then you can use the continuous monitoring mixed with the backtracking to be able to get a better understanding of what you just read. Alrighty, I'm going to go help some of the other students and then we'll come back and give you more help.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why we
We're to examine the original data from the paper claiming that genes pass from food to blood
I did
And if you can
find
do this,
food
then it's
DNA.
a lot easier for fiction and nonfiction, where it's very informative
Right.
and very obvious what your key points are.
When I said when I examined
Yeah.
the original data
That's kind of why we use this book.
for the data rating, I did find
The big ones you're gonna want to use are
How are you doing over here?
I think we're doing good. Yeah.
Are you almost done with the first page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, it says much higher quantities of DNA, not much higher quantities of DNA, common skin microorganisms.
Basically, foods that we
I'm so confused.
get their DNA
So,
with our bloodstream.
skin microorganisms.
And the main reason I think we picked this article over
Ours
is in the very top article that I just but because if you can understand this, it makes comprehension, fiction, and nonfiction kind of wouldn't use the same. So we're starting off with kind of the heavier stuff that way. We can go through and learn concepts more and then we can go into fiction. For you, I'll come back to this article after see if it's improved, how that's going.
It says, when I examined the original data from the human planning that genes pass from food to blood,
If you're eating like Lunchables or something, there's no DNA. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I'd log it up. I'm really sorry.
Contamination article. Interesting choice. But so it's pretty easy for you guys to understand. Where you
but I also found much more
Yeah.
on the
Well, we started off with a complicated article because it's a great way to really emphasize how to use each of the strategies. That way, because after this, we can go on to the fiction and nonfiction portions of this lesson.
Yeah, you guys saw
With fiction, especially because you're reading a book that you already
Exactly.
enjoy,
Thank you.
and it makes it easier to realize what you're doing in terms of reading comprehension. So,
It says that most
yeah.
were from
Exactly. Well, and especially with this, we'll probably come back to this at the end of the unit, and it'll make it a lot easier for you guys to understand after having some practice. All right. Let me know if you guys need any help. Right over here.
One of the microbes lost found the bacteria acne is linked to the skin condition acne. Another, the fungus and bulbosa causes danger.
All right. Quick show of thumbs. Ready to go. Want to spend a little more time. You need the rest of the class period to do this. A little more time, a little more time. I'm seeing a lot of kind of in between here. Want to go like 2 or 3 more minutes and then we'll move on for the wrapping up of this lesson.
Because you guys were supposed to just do the first page. What's on the first page?
Okay. So, though he did not investigate the possible sources of the contaminants he found, Russ said that one scenario is the slightly presence of both liquid and microbial data is that various laboratory workers contaminating the sample tubes after touching their faces, scratching their heads, and eating. But in this case, the scientists behind the study performed a triple control
So much younger.
Yeah.
Don't worry, man. When I'm cliche, like
I don't understand that. The DNA is just going into the bloodstream. I mean, of course, it's going to be in the bloodstream. We're eating it. Does it integrate with you? Is it like, if you eat bacon, does that bacon become part of your DNA? Are you reproducing pig?
That's not quite what the article is saying.
It's not.
It's more about on the like microscopic level. When you look at it, there are some foods that when their DNA mixes with your bloodstream, it can result in certain genetic changes, but they're minor ones. I believe one of them is a chance of having acne. If you look at the first page.
Are they temporary?
It depends really, because this was one study out of many that are going to follow this one about whether or not this is a temporary subject or a permanent thing that can happen depending on what you eat.
Okay.
But from what I was able to gather, it seems, at least at this point, minor, but fairly long-lasting, not permanent, but longer-lasting than, like, say, a week and then it's out of your bloodstream. But they're going to do a lot more tests on this and be able to give us a better answer.
Where was this cited from?
This was from the University of Michigan.
What journal?
I can't remember what journal they posted. I thought it said it in the paper, but
So if I eat enough chicken, do I get feathers?
not quite. It doesn't quite work that way. Like I said, it's more on the microscopic level. It's more on small changes than you're not going to suddenly sprout wings if you eat too much chicken.
Ready, Marcel?
I'm ready.
Alright.
How about everybody else? Thumbs in the air. Waving like you just don't care. All right. There we go.
Okay, so now that we've read this article, kind of figured out, maybe we should have picked a little bit easier article for you guys to practice with the 4 strategies. But as a whole class, we'll kind of, if you guys want to summarize what the article is about, by raising your hand, share. Anybody?
Talks about how some whole food DNAs are being found in, like on a very micro
Yeah.
level in blood plasma.
Yeah. Does anybody else want to add to that? No?
What was the debate between, like, if it's found actually in the food that you're eating or in the contamination from your hands?
Yeah, exactly. So that was another big, like, topic in the article. So while you guys were reading this article as a group, I was walking around and I noticed a lot of you guys were using backtracking, like, with your group members, which was a really, like, awesome
Yeah.
thing to see. And did you see any of that?
I noticed backtracking and continuously monitoring, both of those work really well together, and a lot of you were doing that.
Yeah. So, how do you guys use one strategy, comprehension strategy, or do you guys use 2? Like, which one works best for you guys? Or, we'll start at this table. One person, tell me.
I said that's strategic backtracking because I mostly guess, especially with an article that is more complex, I think continuously had to go back and reread what I read just to make sure that I understood.
Yeah. And then, Stacey?
Well, for like the very first paragraph or so, we did the watcher, like we're trying to figure out, okay, what's going on? It's a guy at Michigan, University of Michigan, who's
Yeah.
a researcher. And then for the rest of it, we just did backtracking and going through.
Yeah, and making sure that you guys are understanding what the article is about. Our table?
What are we doing?
Yeah, like what worked best for you guys while you guys were reading the article?
Strategic backtracking.
Strategic backtracking, yeah. And then this table?
Backtracking.
Backtracking, for sure, yeah. Just going back and
Monitoring.
monitoring.
I'll put right over here.
Yeah, monitoring, definitely.
Alright, and then, so at your groups real quick, I want you to have a quick discussion about how we could use these 4 comprehension strategies in our class, like how can it benefit you throughout our English Lit class. So go ahead and discuss for a minute, and then we'll come back and have a conversation.
Just a brief discussion before we come back to the group, or to the class as a whole.
Make sense of things we don't understand and guess. I guess predicting. Use what we made sense to put it all together. Yeah, putting it all together.
Yeah, and I think everybody kind of.
Everybody sees comprehension.
Alright, we're gonna come back as a whole.
Alright, guys. Bringing it back up front.
Back table, you guys ready? Yeah, alright. So, how can we use these 4 strategies in our English Lit class, like, to help us with our readings? What did you guys discuss at your table groups?
As you guys had mentioned when you were kind of running the class, it helps a lot in all of the different genres. So, you know, if we go into fiction or nonfiction or other types of literature, then we can use these strategies, and we can even use them in different courses too, like textbook reading.
Yeah, textbook reading, exactly. I like that. Anybody? Yeah.
Prediction's good at, I think a good one to lead into great classroom discussion.
Mm-hmm.
The whole class discussing, predicting the outcome, especially if you go chapter by chapter.
Exactly. Yeah. And then one more.
Seems like something you'd use like in the context of getting into old English texts or.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you guys show good understanding towards the end of this unit, I might break out some Shakespeare and we'll see how well you can apply comprehension to ye olde English.
Yep.
Alrighty.
That's it.
So you guys seem to have a pretty good understanding. Why don't you go ahead and pack up your bags, get ready for lunch or second period, depending on your schedule.